welcome to another podcast episode. We're going to talk today about chords and melody, putting those things together, and really aiming at what we need to know in order to create our own chord melody arrangements. And it's great to play other arrangements that you may find on the internet, but also to have a little grasp on creating your own. And it could be a very simple thing, or it could be really elaborate, but to be able to do that as well, and who knows, maybe take what you like from another arrangement and use what you have come up with on your own in other areas and work to develop something. We'll talk about Dolphin dance here. We'll start out with the E flat major chord, right? So we need a root note, we need a chord quality, and then we need to know what the melody note is and how it relates to that chord. So we have this chord to begin with, and then we have the G. So that is the third of the chord. So it's a major 10th interval above the root note in this case. But in its simplest terms, it's the third of the chord. And then we have A flat, B flat. And then what that reveals to us is a little bit about what sort of chord scale or what sort of palette of tones Herbie Hancock may be thinking about here. So when you're playing a major 7, I would say probably the first two things you want to consider are, well, are we going to maybe be working with the Ionian sound or the Lydian sound? So since this is kind of in that melody, we have more of the Ionian kind of sound to that. Right, and now we end up with F. Now the chord itself is D flat major 7, but we're placing that over the E flat. Okay, so again, we're thinking about these different elements: chord quality, the root to that chord, and then also the bass note. And then we also want to think of what the chord melody note is. So the F would be the third of D flat major, and then we're putting D flat major over the E flat. Okay. So we end up with a very similar kind of thing on this next few tones, right? Or next few measures. We land on the F again, but this time we have D as our root note, and minor 7 flat 5 as the chord quality. Right, and we have 2-5. We've discussed this tune in other episodes before, so I won't go into too much detail about the chord progression itself. We have C minor, right? Now our melody note is E flat, so C minor 7. We have C in the bass, minor 7, and then we have E flat in the melody. So again, thirds, very important. And oftentimes melodies will touch on the thirds. And then these tones, G is a chord tone, and then F, you might say, is a non-chord tone if we're thinking about C minor in its simplest form, or C minor 7. So we can think in terms of chord tones, non-chord tones, and it's also significant to think about are we landing on strong beats or weak beats, right? So we do have this E flat chord tone on beat 3 there. All right, we get set up here with A flat major 7, or A flat major 9, sharp 11. Okay, so the chord symbol itself is going to tell us a little bit about the melody oftentimes. Okay, so we play, let's say, a shell voicing here, and then we play D on top of that. Okay, so that can be very effective for us. We go back to the C minor. So what's he doing here with a melody? This seems to be a little bit of a theme going on where we're ending on this tone and then changing the chord under it. Also in this case, it changes the rhythm up a little bit as well. So let's relate that a little bit back to the beginning. We had this F tone, kind of a little short phrase or short idea, right? And then ended up on the third of D flat minor, backing up here, and then he ended the second idea with a third of D natural, but D minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so that's interesting that we're getting this idea landing on the D with A flat, major 7, sharp 11, and then playing very similar. The notes are really the same, rhythm is slightly different. But we're going to D and then A minor this time. So followed up by D7. So that's an interesting thing is taking an idea, having a melody note, and harmonizing it differently the second time it's stated. All right, so the D7, and this can be very instructive to for improvisation as well. The D7, the melody note is C. That's the flat 7 of the dominant 7th chord, which has a tendency to want to resolve downward either by half step or whole step, depending on what the next chord is. So in this case, we have a half step to B. Okay, so we have G major 7. Again, landing on a third on strong beat, and it's beat 1. Okay, and then we get major 7. So we have F sharp, and we're G major 7. Okay, and then he lets the harmony shift underneath so that we have the same tone, but now we have A flat minor 7. That's the flat 7 of that chord. Okay, and now we have F minor 11, and the 11 is the melody note here. So I'm including a 9 in this because I think it sounds good. All right. So think about your core elements of a basic chord, like F minor 7 in this case. Okay. And then you want to kind of assess, well, does B flat lie within that? Is that included as one of these notes? So we have F, A flat, C, E flat. So the answer is no. So we have a note that is out of the four tones of the most basic part of the chord. So that's what I would recommend really trying to think about, right? So that gives us the 11. Let's move on to C minor 7. Now, C minor, we get the 5th of this chord. Okay. So that is going to be a chord tone. We end up with B flat in the melody. Okay. And then kind of continue on, we have just kind of surveying through these notes. So pretty much all chord tones there in that case. And then we're getting up to D. Okay. Now D, we're playing the 11 over an A minor. Okay, so this is similar to what's just happened 4 measures before. All right, and then we get to D13. So we just have really kind of a slight movement in the shape. So we've got 2, 5, and we can maintain that D up above that. When the B section starts, we really get into a very similar thing that we had at the very beginning of the tune. It's rhythmically the same. So we have G major 7. We're going to, on the next 4 bars, really have a pedal of G, right? So we're going to have this shifting harmony, but that stable G. So we're going to have an A. So we start out with the 3rd again. The A becomes the 9 of a G sus chord, G7 sus or G9 sus. And then we're going to have A major triad over the G. Okay, and now we're playing G and to the F. Okay, so the F tone, I'm not talking about a chord there, but E flat major 9 kind of a sound here. So we might play something like this chord, which gives us kind of a thick sort of sound. So I've got a G going there and the E flat with a flat 5 and then an F on top. Okay, so that'd be the 9th of that chord. So you can see one major theme here as we talk through this is really knowing each note, how it relates to a certain chord. All right, well, let's keep going here. We have F13. Okay, so E flat would be the flat 7. This does get easier over time, so just want to think about how this relates to that. So we've got that. And then we end up with D. So that is the 13 of the F. So similarly here we have F in the bass for at least 3 measures. Okay, and then we get more of a sus sound, flat 7, root 9. And then we get into something we've heard before in this tune, which is the 11 on the E minor. So that would be A, E minor 9, and we can have a little motion under that as well. Okay, we have E flat 9. Okay, A is in the melody on beat 1. Okay, so that's significant. That's going to be the sharp 11. Okay, and then okay, so this is kind of working there with the sharp 11, the 5th, and the 3rd. Okay, and then we're gonna go up to the D here. At this point, you know, this is the end of 4, but you might relate this a little more to the upcoming chord here. So this might think A flat minor 11 again, and then D 13. So the B melody note B, D13 for that upcoming D chord, to B minor 7. Okay, we have the root note. Okay, and then a little bit of a outside tone. It's really just kind of coming back and forth. You know, you might say encircling this root note here. So I wouldn't overanalyze that A sharp there. Okay, and then we get to E Okay, we have the root note in the melody, and then we have D minor 7, the third in the melody, and then we get to the F sharp that gives us the 11 in the melody. Okay, flat third, flat 7, fifth, and then we get F sharp 13, so the melody note is the 13 here. Okay, and then F sharp being the root note there. Okay, and then we're going to B. Okay, so we can think about a major 7. Okay, and this would be the 13, or you may think of it as add 6. Okay, and then shifting harmonies underneath that, we have the major 7, so that note becomes the major 7th of C major 7. So we'll go a little further here. We just have 4 more measures to cover. Okay, so we have D flat major 7. That's the major 7. Root 9. Okay, and then we have the root note on top here. A number of ways we could play this. This is going to get a little bit sort of dense sounding, but okay. So that gives us a B flat 13 with a flat 9 over E flat. Okay, and then we get into that C7 sharp 9 over E flat, and then this melody note would be the 5th as it relates to the C. Sharp 5, flat 7, and then we get the 7th of the G7. So on some of these chords, you could really kind of stretch out and have some fun with these. And if you're looking for ways to support this content, please visit fretprints.com. I have an upcoming member area there, so join my newsletter for now, and I'll give you a good entry into that extended maybe trial membership. But I am looking for some folks to work out some of the initial issues that may occur with it. So I would hope that you would join the email list and get into all that. But you can also visit jimellisguitar.com and follow me on all of the regular social media platforms. Thanks for listening. Have a great practice session.